Donald Trump plans a long-awaited attack speech against Hillary Clinton this morning here in New York. Yesterday, Clinton mocked Trump's track record as a businessman and said his economic policy would put the United States back into a recession.
We spoke with Donald Trump yesterday at his headquarters in Trump Tower. He defended his business credentials and addressed the fact that he is millions behind Clinton in fundraising. You saw the numbers. Hillary Clinton and her campaign allies have spent $23 million in 8 battleground states on television advertising. Yep. The Trump campaign has spent zero.
Isn't that impressive?
Do you need to fight back?
Let me ask you, isn't it impressive when we're even? And she's spending $23 million and I'm spending, I got no credit for that. When I spent less money than anybody else and won the primaries, like in New Hampshire, I spent $1 million and a certain opponent spent $8 million and I won in a landslide. Nobody said, gee, he did it without spending the money. That's called good business practices. And I don't know how you can spend, and by the way, we're raising quite a bit of money. I'm raising it for the party. I'd rather just spend my own money. To me, it's simpler. But you don't need to spend $1.2 billion. In other words, she's going to spend $300 million a month, because you're talking about like 4 months. And I just, I talk to my people all the time and say, why do you have to spend $1 billion? It doesn't make sense.
But she's got $42 million in the bank. You've got $1 million in the bank. How do you run a ground campaign?
Meaning they've raised.
Campaign.
But that's from a filing, in all fairness, that only took into account one day. I don't want to devote the rest of my life to raising money from people. And, when she raises this money, every time she raises money, she's making deals. They're saying, could I be the ambassador to this? Could I do that? Make sure my business is taken care of. I mean, give me a break. All of the money she's raising, that's blood money. That's blood money. Hey, look, I was one of the biggest donors. I gave a lot of money to the party. I gave a lot of money to everybody. But I was a very big donor, so I understand the system better than anybody. Look, she's getting tremendous amounts of money from Wall Street. She's going to take care of Wall Street. She's getting tremendous amounts of money from lots of people. She's going to take care of all those people. And part of my campaign is, that this money is being spent, and she's making deals for this money.
She said your economic policies would create a Trump recession.
No, we're going to create an absolute, unbelievable country. We're going to put people back to work again. We're not going to allow countries to steal our businesses.
The current plan that you've put forward, independent economic analysts have looked at it and said that it would add $30 trillion to the deficit because you're going to reduce taxes, you're not going to cut entitlements. There's some questions about whether
I'm going to bring back jobs. I'm going to bring back businesses. We're going to have a lot of people come into our country. We're going to have people come into our country. Look,
how do you do
companies
that?
now are leaving the United States, corporate inversion. They're leaving the United States. We have almost $5 trillion sitting out there where they can't get the money back. They can't bring it in because there's no mechanism to bring it back in, and the tax is so high. I'm going to bring tremendous amounts of money, tremendous amounts of jobs, tremendous numbers of companies. And yes, the tax is going to be cut from the highest tax nation anywhere in the world to a fairly low tax. Not the lowest in the world, but to a fairly low tax.
Hillary Clinton called you the king of debt.
Well, no, she didn't call me. I call myself the king of debt. I'm the king of debt. I'm great with debt. Nobody knows debt better than me. I've made a fortune by using debt. And if things don't work out, I renegotiate the debt. I mean, that's a smart thing, not a stupid thing. And I made a fortune.
How do you renegotiate the debt?
Because you go back and you say, hey, guess what? The economy just crashed. I'm going to give you back half. I like debt. For me, I don't like debt for the country. I like debt for my company, but I don't like debt for the country. For the country, we have $19 trillion in debt. It's going to be very soon 21 trillion, not billion, $21 trillion in debt. And I will tell you, we are sitting on a time bomb, and Hillary Clinton doesn't have a clue. And President Obama has pretty much doubled the debt since he's been in office. And somebody's going to pay a big price. We have to start chopping that debt down.
Janet Yellen, who you know, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, blasted you for saying that the U.S. could load up on debt and then make a deal with creditors if the economy soured. She said there would be very severe consequences if an elected president tried to renegotiate the nation's debt.
I wouldn't renegotiate the debt. I'd negotiate, if I do a deal in a corporation, as an example, and if the economy goes bad, I'll oftentimes renegotiate that debt. But that's a different thing. That's just a corporate thing. And other people like me, very big people in the world of business, they do that. No, I wouldn't do that. But I think it could be a good time to borrow and pay off debt, borrow debt, make longer term debt.
There's no doubt you have broken all the rules in this race. But was You know, I think when people are looking back and seeing at this time in the campaign, Barack Obama heavily outspent Mitt Romney. It
But they're
really hurt
different
him.
than me.
Yeah, hurt him in the campaign. George W. Bush heavily outspent John Kerry. You say history doesn't matter.
Well, no, it's nice to be funded, but you know, when I get funded, I have to go and ask people for money. When I ask them for money, they want favors. Everybody wants favors. You know, it's the way it is. And Hillary Clinton's giving a lot of favors. And she's going to be owned by Wall Street. She's going to be owned by the banks. She's going to be owned by a lot of different groups, or she wouldn't be raising the money. I don't like doing that. I would rather say it like it is. And like it is that I don't want to spend a lot of money.
Now, despite that, the Trump campaign is trying to ramp up its fundraising. For the first time, the candidate just sent an email on behalf of his campaign asking for donations. He says he will personally match every dollar donated within 48 hours up to $2 million.
Sounds to me like Trump's making an argument for public financing
Yes.
of campaigns.
Yeah. Well, I was there, his campaign chairman was there when he said, you're going to match the $2 million, and Trump said, I am.
Yeah.
He has already loaned his campaign $43 million.
Yeah. And given his campaign staff and some of his own properties and companies a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got a plan.